Once upon a time. Good morning and welcome to Whenever You Are. I am Bandit Taze, and today I'm going to be talking about Pan's Labyrinth, the movie with the sad but beautiful ending where the spoilers little girl finally gets to meet her real father with her real mother in her real kingdom where she is really a princess. Let's talk about the big lie that is Pan's Labyrinth. Alright, so first of all, the story is that of a young lady called Ophelia who is moving into a war zone because her mother has married an army captain and is about to give birth to his son, and the captain believes that a child should be born where the father is, even if the father is in a war zone. Just saying, would have been a lot less hassle for the captain to take a leave of absence to spend time with his wife when she was ready to pop. And by the way, it would be a leave of absence and not paternity leave because this is set in 1944 and paternity leave didn't exist back then because, you know, patriarchy or something. But actually, to be fair, it's technically not a war zone since the war is over. It's just that the Empire are dealing with the remaining rebel scum. You know, it's kind of like when Bruce Lee whoops somebody's ass and he tells them to stay down, but they don't stay down. So then Bruce Lee has to make sure they stay down. Kind of like that. Anyway, on the way there, Ophelia sees a mantis which turns out to be a fairy, and when she gets to the base, she wanders around and finds a labyrinth with a fawn inside, and the fawn gives her 3 tasks to complete so that Ophelia, the princess, can return to her kingdom. Now, before we go ahead, let me address this real quick. Who is Pan? Because throughout the whole movie, nobody is called Pan, and the only person to claim ownership of the labyrinth is the fawn. Here's the thing, the original Spanish title translates as The Fawn's Labyrinth, but some genius decided that English speakers wouldn't understand what a fawn is, so they changed it to Pan's Labyrinth because they figured that would be more relatable. But here's the problem. In mythology, Pan is the Greek god of the wild, and the only thing he has in common with the fawn is that they're both half goats. Furthermore, why would they think English speakers wouldn't understand what a fawn is? Have they not read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe? Honestly, I don't believe anyone is qualified to write fantasy if they haven't read The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. So Del Toro, or whoever decided to rename this movie, I'm gonna need you to stop off at your local library and pick up a book or something. Anyway, Ophelia does almost all. I'll come back to that. Ophelia does almost all she is asked to do, and then when we get to the end, the final task is that she has to cut up her baby brother, spill his blood so that she can get back to the kingdom. Ophelia refuses. She decides that she'd rather give up the kingdom and all she's entitled to than hurt her baby brother. When she does, the fawn says, so be it, and he goes away. The captain shows up, he takes the baby from Ophelia, shoots her in the stomach, and as she lays there bleeding, dying, Ophelia goes to the kingdom because they didn't really want her to hurt the boy. It was just a test. You know, kind of like how when God tells Abraham to sacrifice his child and Abe was about to do it, but then God was like, nah, chill dude, here's a goat instead. You know, kind of like that. In fact, come to think of it, maybe that's why Del Toro went with a fawn. Maybe. Alright, now one of the theories surrounding this movie is whether or not the kingdom is real. But the thing is, Del Toro has already said in an interview that in the film, the kingdom is supposed to be real. Specifically, he points to the flowers blooming on the dead tree, the chalk being on Captain Vidal's desk, and Ophelia escaping the dead end of the labyrinth when the captain was chasing her. Now generally, I don't really like to use things that have been said in interviews as a way of explaining things that happen in movies, because a lot of the times things said in interviews are just said to keep people guessing. But in this case, it's just facts. Plus further to that, just the facts that Ophelia has the chalk and the book that the fawn gave her that seemingly everyone else can see. So as far as the film is concerned, the kingdom is real. And yeah, I know it sounds like I'm saying Israel, it is what it is. The kingdom is supposed to be real in the movie. I won't argue that, not much point. But I do have another question I would like to ask. Accepting that the kingdom is real, does Ophelia actually go there? I don't think so. Now let me be clear, I'm pretty sure that the story the filmmakers intended to deliver is that Ophelia goes to the kingdom when she dies. That's the official line, that's the official story, that's what they're trying to do, that's what they wanted to deliver, that's what they'll tell you in any interviews if they haven't said so already. Ophelia dies and goes to the kingdom. That is the story. But It just doesn't quite add up. Let me explain. When Ophelia gets to the kingdom, the king gives his talk about how Ophelia chose not to spill the blood of her brother and chose to sacrifice herself instead, and that's the right thing to do. That's what he wanted her to do, right? First of all, she didn't choose to sacrifice herself. Captain Vidal shot her in the stomach. He didn't ask, it wasn't multiple choice, he just shot her. But anyway, with that in mind, the first task was for Ophelia to kill the toad inside the dead tree so that the tree can live again. Now when Ophelia sees the toad inside the tree, she tells him off for eating the bugs. Now she says, aren't you ashamed of yourself for getting fat and eating all the bugs while the tree is dying or whatever, right? And then Ophelia uses a bug as bait to get the toads to eat the stones. And that makes her a hypocrite. But did the king have anything to say about that though? No. Now to be fair, maybe the king didn't know. After all, the only reason the faun knew that Ophelia had eaten 2 grapes on the second task is because the one surviving fairy told him. And speaking of the second task, Ophelia was told to start the hourglass when the door opens. She didn't. She was told to let the fairies guide her. She didn't. Not fully. They wanted her to open the middle box. She opened the one on the left. And she was told not to eat anything, and she did. So there's at least 3 reasons why Ophelia failed the second task, but the faun was only told about the grapes. So if they are relying on the fairies to relay information on Ophelia, clearly they need to get better fairies who can keep proper notes and not just pick and choose what they think is relevant. Anyway, the faun gets mad at Ophelia, tells her that she's going to grow old and die on Earth, and the people of the kingdom will just fade out and it's all her fault. But then the faun comes back later and says, LOL, I've decided to give you another chance. So now the question is, what is the point of these rules? It doesn't matter that she's not following them, and the fairies aren't even keeping track of her anyway. They're just pranced around doing fairy shit. And he decided to give her another chance? So if it was all within the faun's control, why did he get angry at Ophelia, making her feel bad for ruining everything when it didn't even matter anyway? I mean, he could have been like, yeah, that's so cool, you know, don't worry about it, we can give it another chance, you know, we could try again, that's so good. That's some serious anger issues. I mean, this guy was a real thorn in her side. Boom. But this is the guy that the king sends to help bring his daughter back. How oblivious is the king to the faun's abusive behavior? Furthermore, the faun didn't even go looking for Ophelia. He was just waiting around for ages in the labyrinth, and she just happened to go wandering into it. What would have happened if Ophelia's mother never remarried? He'd still be there waiting. Also, at the end, Ophelia just dies. Her father already died before the film, and her mother dies during the film, and they're all present in the kingdom. But her baby brother is still alive. So who is the queen holding? But let's talk about the king for a minute. Now, we don't see Ophelia's Earth Dad, the tailor who died before the film started, but I think it's a fair assumption to say that the king and Ophelia's Earth Dad look the same and have the same or at least similar personalities. And the reason I say that is because Ophelia, the faun, and her mother all look the same from when they were on Earth to when they're in the kingdom. And at least Ophelia and the faun seem to have some kind of recollection of themselves on Earth. So it seems to me that there is at least some correlation between their Earth selves and their kingdom selves. And if that's so, now remember when the king said to Ophelia, you chose to sacrifice yourself? So when Ophelia's Earth Dad died, what that means is that he actually chose to go back to the kingdom. In other words, he abandoned his wife and child. Just saying, you're not supposed to take the dead in deadbeat literally. But let's talk about the queen now, her mother. Now again, I think it's fair to say that there's more than just physical similarities between their Earth selves and their kingdom selves, which means Carmen, Ophelia's mother, knew about the kingdom. She knew about the kingdom when she married that mean Captain Vidal. She knew about the kingdom when she dragged Ophelia off to go live in a place where people are getting shot on the daily and let her wander around unattended in said place. She knew about the kingdom when she tried to make Ophelia refer to the captain as father. She knew about the kingdom when she got mad at Ophelia, talking about magic doesn't exist for us, and threw the mandrake roots into the fire. She knew, maybe deep down, but she knew about the kingdom, and that makes Carmen a bad mother. Watch your mouth. I'm just talking about Carmen. And if you got that reference, put it in the comments. Now, to be fair, there is a lot of speculation in what I just said, but it just seems to me that if the kingdom is real, then either Ophelia didn't make it to the kingdom and she only imagines that she did, or she did make it to the kingdom, but then doesn't really mean much, you know, kind of like a nightclub where they act like they have all these rules, but they really just let anybody in. And besides, why would you want to be in a place where people give you a whole bunch of instructions, but you never know which ones they actually want you to follow and which ones you're supposed to ignore, and then you're just constantly second guessing yourself all the time, and that just seems like unnecessary stress to me. But anyway, before I end this video, there is one more thing I'd like to talk about, and that is the scene where Mercedes has been captured and a captain is about to torture her. First of all, Mercedes, easily the best character in the movie. Mercedes was a better mother to Ophelia than Ophelia's mother. She didn't shout at her, she hummed her a lullaby, she gave her fresh milk, and when Mercedes stabbed up the captain, she made sure to tell him, leave Ophelia alone. A better ending would have been if Mercedes died instead of Carmen, and then when Ophelia gets to the kingdom, she finds out that Mercedes was her real mother all along. But anyway, I want to talk about this torture scene, or more specifically, Garces. When the captain tells Garces to leave him alone with Mercedes because, for God's sake, she's just a woman, Garces makes a face like, what the hell is that? For God's sakes, she's just a woman. Ooh, the captain's going to have his wicked way with her. Ooh. This is amongst the reasons why I'm skeptical of people with moustaches. And I said people. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. Either have full face hair or nothing at all. Or if you must, just have the beard. I mean, look, if you're young, I get it. You know, you just take whatever face hair you can get when you're young, right? But if you're older than, say, 25 and you're not Eddie Murphy and you're rocking just a mustache, I'm just saying, I'm going to be taking notes, and much better than those damn fairies. And that is what I think of Pan's Labyrinth. What do you think of Pan's Labyrinth? Fairy tale or tall tale? Let me know down below, and if you liked this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until whenever, if ever, and they all lived happily ever after.